You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're looking for the downloadable podcast episodes, you can go to drawincustomers.com and click on that fancy little podcast link. My name is James Kateman, and Authentic Business Adventures is welcoming / preparing to learn from Michael Wedaa, the incorporation specialist of Augmentus Business Solutions, author of Corporation and LLC Secrets, which he's going to share more here today, teacher at UCLA on corporations and LLCs, and speaker at business events across the nation. So needless to say, we have an expert in the room here with corporations and LLCs. So Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, James. I'm glad to be here. Sounds
yeah,
like
thanks for being on the show. It is so interesting. It's very timely that this is going on because I was just at an event 2 days ago, and somebody was giving some advice. I'll use advice air quotes about LLC, and they're like, "Nah," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if that's correct." So how about we just start so people that may or may not know, business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are looking to become one of the two, can you just let us know what is an LLC to start?
Sure. It stands for Limited Liability Company. And the best way to describe it in a short way is that it's kind of a looser form of a corporation. So it does provide some tax advantages and it does provide some asset protections. It just doesn't have as much legal precedence as a corporation because corporations have been around for hundreds of years and the LLC has only been around since the 70s.
So, they're fairly new. I mean, relatively.
Yeah, they're very new entities.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So just consider it as a less formal version of a corporation. There's not as much paperwork to upkeep and, it's a little bit weaker, but not significant enough to avoid.
All right. And tell us about the goal that someone would be trying to achieve by starting or creating an LLC.
Sure. So an LLC basically it's a good entity because it's the most versatile. So for someone who's getting started, a lot of questions are, hey, what's the difference between S-Corp, a C-Corp, an LLC? Which one's right for me? And an LLC is a good starting point because it gives you the most flexibility. So you can start off with an LLC, and once you start making a little bit more money, you can tell the IRS to tax your LLC as an S-Corp. So you'll get some of the tax benefits of an S-Corp without having to shut down the LLC and form a new entity. That costs a lot of money to do in some cases. Yeah. And you can also have your LLC taxed as a C-Corp once you get to a certain point. So good path to follow in general. Yeah. Good path to follow in general, and it depends on your situation. So this is like a lot of past clients, but it doesn't fit for everybody, is to start with an LLC. And when you start making a chunk of money, have it switch to an S-Corp, have it taxed as an S-Corp. And then when you get close to the $200,000 profit range, switch to a C-Corp so you can take advantage of that flat tax.
Interesting. Tell me about the flat tax, because I've done the steps LLC to S-Corp. No problem. Super easy. Accountants work their magic.
Yes.
But I guess I didn't even know that moving to a C-Corp was an option.
Yes, absolutely it is. So what happens is you could just file a piece of paper with the IRS that tells them to tax your LLC as a C-Corp. And currently the flat tax of 21% is what C-Corps get taxed at.
All right.
And the reason that's good to switch once you hit to about 200,000 is the S-Corp and the LLC are taxed at the personal income tax rate, which goes all the way up to 38%. And so when you start hitting that 21% tax bracket, that's about the time that you want to switch over to the C-Corp. So you can save money. You can save about 17% on income tax.
Does that move into the double taxation that some people have to deal with, the corporations have to deal with?
So with C corporations have double taxation, S corporations do not. And for those listening, just a quick run on that is that if you have 100,000 in profit in your C corporation, you're going to get taxed at the corporate level, and then you pay it out as a dividend to the personal side, and you get taxed again on the income side, on the personal side. But a lot of people tell you avoid C corps for that reason, but there's so many legal tricks that you can use to make sure that you don't get that you don't get taxed twice.
Oh,
a couple of them offhand is pay yourself a paycheck. That means you're only getting taxed once. You're also allowed to leave a reasonable amount of money in the corporation without paying it out as dividends because you need to reserve it for future use. So if I made, $2 million this year, leaving $2 million in the corporation wouldn't fly, right?
All right, sure.
But if I left 500,000 in there because there were some major purchases coming up, as long as I can justify, then it only gets taxed once. So there's
Interesting.
many ways that you can avoid double taxation.
All right. I can see that's an issue that we had even this past tax year. I was like, since pandemic, right? You've been socking money away just for that. What the
Yes.
hell just happened kind of moment.
Yes.
But you still get taxed on that. Like, thanks for saving money. You're a responsible adult. We're gonna take a chunk of that because we're the government kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah,
we're
how
gonna
dare you be
reward you.
responsible?
Right? You get roads and schools, but we're gonna take a good handsome percentage of that. And it
Yes.
felt like one of those like I feel like I would have been better if I just would have spent this recklessly than business
Yeah,
spending
right.
recklessly.
Yeah.
You essentially get a discount on whatever it is you're buying because you're not getting taxed on it because it's an expense kind of thing.
Very true.
So
Very
it feels like I'm getting punished for being a grown up here.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is sometimes. That's what it feels like.
So anyways, when you are talking to, let's say the person, this particular individual was talking about someone that had their own business doing marketing. So they're essentially a solopreneur
Yes.
kind of thing and not necessarily looking at the time to grow with employees and all that jazz.
Mhm.
So is the idea there, this person specifically suggested forget an LLC, you don't need it, it's a waste of time and money. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
So it can be a waste of time and money for those who aren't making enough money yet. Let's say they just started and they're working. Let's say someone's working a job and they have a side hustle and they're bringing in maybe $2,000 a year. If you form an LLC at that point, it's going to be a wash as far as the annual fees you got to pay. You also have to pay an accountant to file the taxes for it. And you're not going to have a lot of money left over. But I tell people once you get above 5,000 or typically even better, once you get close to the 10,000 point, it starts to make sense for someone to form an LLC. So the person who said that wasn't wrong. It sounds like they kind of made a blanket statement that almost anyone that's
Very
a
broad.
solopreneur doesn't need it.
Very broad.
And I would disagree with that because if you're, a marketer and you get sued, then your personal assets can come up under, they can be vulnerable to a lawsuit. So absolutely, it makes sense for a solopreneur to have a corporation or an LLC of some sort.
Yeah, it's interesting those dollar amounts that you mentioned because those, like, it's 5,000, 10,000. That's side hustle, which I get it, whatever. If you got a lemonade stand, you're not starting a corporation. But if it's your actual job,
yes,
for your business that you own that's going to pay your bills, I would hope to God that you're making more than 10 grand.
Yeah, right.
If you want to live in anything better than a cardboard box.
But see, that's the thing is most entrepreneurs start out, they have a job and they're working a business on the side.
All right.
Very few jump ship and just dive right in. I've seen it happen and people.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. It's a
better
lot
or
of
worse.
Yeah. And some of us were lucky when we did that, but most people are trying to get their feet wet and make sure it's built up to a certain point before they quit their job.
Oh.
And even at that point, it's necessary to form an entity. Again, if you're making a couple grand, there's usually not enough liability there.
Right.
But also, it just doesn't make sense. You don't want to be in the negative just maintaining the LLC.
Yeah.
So that's why it makes sense to have some, decent income coming in.
Interesting. Tell me, how did you end up in this realm of being the guru for LLCs and corporations? Because I can't imagine you were just laying there in elementary school, second grade, thinking, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I want to be the LLC guy.
Yeah, right. Totally by accident. You've probably experienced this. If you ask, 10 different CPAs the same question, you're going to get 100 different answers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you go to attorneys, you're going to get a different perspective with different answers there. So it was so nebulous for me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I opened up my first business when I was 19.
Nice.
And I was really young. And what happened is I just started asking all these questions and so many answers were contradictory that I decided to learn it for myself. So I didn't become an expert at that point, but I learned enough to be able to get my own answers for my own businesses. And then friends started coming to me. So I started helping them form their corporations or their LLCs. Then I started referring people I didn't know. I'm like, well, I'm going to start charging. And then it became something that I kind of had a knack for. I would be working with CPAs and they go, well, you can't do that. And I would come up with ways, well, how can we do that? How can we legally write this off? And I would start researching and I'd offer a plan up to a CPA and they go, oh yeah, I guess if you do it that way, that's legal. Okay, that works. So I kind of just over time became better and better at it until people kept telling me, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And so that's where this thing was born.
Nice. All right. How long ago did you publish that?
That was last October. So October of 2022.
All right. Oh, so really recently.
Yeah, it took a couple years to write because there's a lot of legal and tax information, a lot of research, and pulling up client cases that were relevant to someone who's looking into this. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So it does a good job of breaking down. There's two sections in the book. One is for beginners, people that have little or no knowledge of corporations and LLCs, and the last part is advanced for someone who maybe has several of them or they've been operating one for several years. It has some really advanced and some never heard of before strategies to save money on taxes. Everything in there is 100% legal.
Saving money on taxes is always a good thing.
Yes, it is.
It's interesting. I was just, oh my gosh, Rocky, I can't think of his last name. I just interviewed him not too long ago on the same podcast. He was talking about, what was the quote that he used? Your accountant doesn't want you to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it essentially because the accountant doesn't want to give you a big tax bill, because then you think the accountant's a jerk.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those like, totally true, but I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I've always been going to accountants like, help me.
Yes.
Instead of realizing where it's coming from their perspective.
Yeah.
And I always went to them as help me because I'm paying them to help me.
Yes.
At least I thought so.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's interesting how that was not necessarily the case, or has not necessarily been the case.
Yeah, no, and they're all, I mean, that's their job. And accountants, they are, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them tend to be narrow-minded, and a lot of them tell you no to a lot of things. And it's because their job is to be conservative and keep you away from an audit. So I get what they're doing. But not all CPAs are kind of created the same. And I always work with guys. I have a couple on my team that I let my clients use exclusively. They are entrepreneurs themselves. So they get the hustle. They're not just a CPA that doesn't get the struggle and they don't know what's going on and they don't have the creative mind. They are still CPAs, so there's a little bit of that aspect that comes with the personality type, but they are entrepreneurs and they get what's going on. And so they think of it more with a holistic view as opposed to that narrow focus that most CPAs have.
All right. Yeah. I feel like this was just filling in the blank with whatever I gave them.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Here's the thing. A lot of people use old Joe that has been doing their personal taxes since their first job when they were 15. Right. And Joe might be great at personal tax returns, but he doesn't know the ins and outs of corporate and LLC tax returns, doesn't know all of the write-offs, doesn't know all the tips and tricks. So that's why it's good to get someone who specializes with entrepreneurs. And if you're a solopreneur, work with someone who specializes kind of in that area, or at least has a client base in that area, so they know what advantages you can take as far as write-offs.
Yeah, it's amazing the opportunities. Like every time I talk with someone like you, who's like XYZ thing. And I was thinking, I'll give you an example, the mileage deduction versus the expense deduction on vehicles and stuff like that. The rules of the game that I was told initially by an accountant that I had years ago. I started my first business in 2006. That specific business was printer repair. So I was driving all over the place. So we had tons of miles, and we figured out the rules of the game that we were told by that particular accountant, how we could do our best, right? We ended up writing off mileage versus expenses for the vehicle. I talked to this new accountant, and he's like, wait, there's this other thing. And I'm like employee owned vehicle, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait. I could have done that in 2006. Yeah. Like we're talking thousands of dollars.
Yes.
That the government got to keep because they kind of make the rules of the game a little bit more difficult for Joe Schmo to know.
That's right.
And I feel like I've been lied to, man.
Yeah, right. Right. There's so many options with vehicles, and a lot of CPAs don't share that with you, but you can sell your vehicle to the corporation. You can lease. That's my favorite one, is leasing the vehicle to the corporation.
Oh, interesting.
Then you can still insure the vehicle under your personal self, and it's cheaper than insuring it under a business.
Well, see, man, mind blown again.
Yeah, right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do the vehicle, the mileage deduction, selling it, leasing it, and I lease my car to my corporation. because I can
that's
write off
funny.
the gas, the car washes, the maintenance, pretty much every cost related to it.
Yeah.
And if it's paid off, I just pay myself a payment every month. And because that's passive income, you don't get taxed the 15.3% FICA tax that you would.
All right.
Earned income. So you're saving right off the bat right there. So real
interesting
to transfer that. That my book is mostly about how to legally transfer as many personal expenses over to the corporation.
All right. That's genius. I guess from the people that I've talked to, the business owners that I've talked to, the way that they treat taxes is more or less just, I have my accountant take care of it.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's cool. That's great.
Yes.
How do you know your accountant's doing a good job? And it's one of those, just like, I just trust.
Yes.
And I feel like
know
that
more than we do.
Right. But that's
I'm
a very
pretty well
expensive
versed,
trust.
The CPA knows more than I do, in many cases,
Right.
So we
I
trust
hope
them.
so, I guess in that regard, since that's their game.
Yes.
But it's one of those, like you said, is that their niche, or is their niche the W-2 person?
Yes, that's right. That's important to know, because people think that all CPAs know all aspects of taxes, and they do not.
Yeah. Interesting.
No, it's the same thing. You don't go to a heart doctor for a kidney problem.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, or a podiatrist for an ear, nose, and throat problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's specialists in taxes as well.
Are there some things to look for or questions to ask an accountant to figure out? Like, hey, you're not my guy, or hey, you were totally my guy.
Yeah. And so there's a couple things. One is, I would say, hey, what percentage of your returns are business versus personal?
All right.
And remember, because if someone's like, hey, 90% of my business is W-2 income, that's not your person, because they're going to know very little about some of the ins and outs. But someone who's 50% or more, or 60 or 70%, that's great. Because you got to remember, if they're doing their business tax returns, they're doing the personal too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that 50% number is okay. But make sure there's a big chunk. It doesn't have to be half, but I prefer it to be. And also make sure you click. I want somebody who's creative. I want someone who's been in the trenches like I have as an entrepreneur, and they understand what we're looking for. They know what we're trying to, accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to, not just copy last year's tax return. I want them to look at, hey, what can we do here? We've got a new situation. How are we going to be creative about it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Thing too is, a real good accountant will tell you. Most accountants are so stuck like this that they just go, hey, no, you can't do that. Where some will say, well, look, if you don't want an audit at all and you want no question, you do it like this. If you want to push the envelope a little bit, you do this. If you totally want to be in the red, where if you get audited, they'll probably say, no, you can't write off that much and you're going to owe penalties and interest. And they give you that option. And you can choose. And there's people who are like, I don't want an audit. But, an audit is not that scary if you can document what you've put down on your tax return. It's scary if you're just making up numbers, but you're not going to go to an audit. That's what people think. You don't go to tax jail unless you're deliberately hiding money. If I write off too much, I'm just going to get penalties and interest on the part that I overwrote off. People are the IRS, but you shouldn't be scared of them.
It's, it's interesting. I was joking with my accountant this past season, because I'm like, well, I'm paying so much in. I guess this is a guarantee not to get an audit, because I don't know if I could possibly pay in anymore. And he was like, oh, that's funny. And I was like, no, that's not a joke, man. I'm feeling like I'm doing something wrong by paying way too much in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just a weird, he's like, well, I guess you made money. And like,
yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly, I mean, we did.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I feel like I always feel like it's like you're playing a game of Monopoly.
Yes.
And sometimes the accountant that I'm working with currently, good guy, but I feels like he's got the first page of the directions. And just like, what do you mean we can buy houses and get rent and all this kind of stuff? I didn't know that. All I knew was that we run around the board and we collect $200 every time.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know all these other rules. So when I was relying on him or the past couple of accountants that I had to share those with me, I don't necessarily know that they knew the rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the time.
They don't always.
It's interesting. On the flip side, in their defense, I was trying to think of the statistic that I found on tax code, that the tax code is so long that it would be impossible for any one human to read it all, let alone understand it.
And it changes every year.
Yeah.
It changes every year, and it's hard to keep up with all those changes. So you're right. You can't blame somebody for not knowing the entire tax code.
Yeah. Tell me about the LLC thing between the different states. Because
As
I can
far
tell
as
you, yeah,
operating in
with
a different state, if you're in California per se, and then you operate in Arizona, is that what you mean?
no, just starting an LLC in California, being in California versus starting an LLC in Arizona if you are in Arizona. Let's
Okay,
start
got it.
there.
So it's usually better to operate or set up an LLC in the state that you live in, and obviously that you're conducting business in. Because a lot of people will go somewhere like Wyoming or Nevada and try and operate a corporation there because there's zero corporate tax.
All right. I
They
see
don't live
Delaware a
there.
lot.
Delaware too, because of the not necessarily because of the taxes, but because they have a separate corporation court, which tends to favor the business in many cases.
That's why they're there.
Yes, that's why Delaware is one of the better states, is because they have a well-established corporate code and they have a separate court for corporations, and they tend to err on the side of the business as long as the business is, doing what they're supposed to do, of course.
So just so I understand this, because this is crazy interesting to me. If I'm a business, this is bigger business, and I'm expecting like sooner or later I'm going to have to go to court.
Yes.
That's why I'd go to Delaware.
That's why you would incorporate in Delaware. Yes.
Oh, here I was thinking they had like no taxes or something like that.
The taxes aren't bad there, but it's really a corporate friendly state as far as the legal side too, because corporations and LLCs aren't just about taxes. There's a lot of legal protections and strategies that you can use.
That's the majority of it, I would imagine, right? Because I mean, LLC is essentially pass through as far as taxes go, right?
There are some things that corporations and LLCs that you can use and write off that you can as a sole proprietorship. But there's a couple of them. But and you also have to pay the FICA taxes as a sole proprietorship on all of your income as well, that can get really expensive.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely does.
But your question about the states, really, it's about, hey, what's the state tax? I have a client who I believe he's in Georgia, and he's looking to relocate to Tennessee. And he goes, hey, I want to form a corporation in Wyoming. And I said, there's no need to do that because, the income tax in Tennessee is 0%. They don't have income tax. So I said, do an LLC, it passes through to the personal level, and then you're only paying to the feds. And he was like, great. And I go, you don't have to worry about forming in another state. Because if you form in another state, you have to qualify it as a foreign entity in the state that you're doing business in or the state that you live in, which means you got to pay taxes there and their ongoing maintenance fees too. So you're paying maintenance fees in two states at that point.
Oh, interesting.
And that makes sense if you're making a lot of money and you want to do the Delaware thing. That does make sense because you're doing it for the legal protection. So who cares if you're paying, maintenance fees in two states? But if you're just starting out and you're, every penny counts, why do that yourself? Form an entity in the state that you live in. And the only difference is really, is there an income tax in that state or a corporate tax in that state? And the formation fees vary widely by state. Some states it's $50 to form an entity. And some states, I think it's in Maine or Maryland, one of the East Coast states, it's $500 to form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you got to think of the maintenance fees. In California, you pay an $800 minimum tax, whether you made money or not. So you're paying $800 a year plus the $25 filing fee for the annual report. So even if you're sitting there dormant, you're paying $825 a year.
Holy cow.
Then you got to pay for the tax return. So some I think Wyoming is only $60 a year to maintain. That's easy. That's nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
California, very expensive. You want to make sure you're making some money here if you're going to open up an entity.
I'm trying to think. I'm in Wisconsin. We pay, I think it's $150 to start it. And then I think it's $25 a year to maintain it. Whatever.
Yeah, usually it's 25 to 100, depending upon the state. Nevada is expensive, but they offset their zero corporate tax. So it costs about $800 or $900 for all the annual reports and things in Nevada.
All right.
If you're paying zero tax over there. So, there's a trade-off. So that's not bad.
Interesting. California is interesting because we used to have a payroll company that we used for payroll, and we brought that in-house. We have employees all over the country. And I was told by this company that their sole job is payroll for companies. That's their business.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, don't hire anyone in California. We won't take care of them.
Oh, yeah, nice. Because the laws.
And it was one of those like, you guys are a payroll company. Like, this is all you do.
Yeah.
And they're like, we won't touch California. It's such a huge pain. We just say, no, can't help you.
Yeah, there's so many laws and there's so many potential pitfalls. I do not blame them for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was the first time I had heard of that, because we ended up going getting people from all over the country during the pandemic, when work from home started to become a really big thing.
Mhm.
And I just think, you find somebody working from home, whatever, who cares where they are?
Yeah.
Apparently you got to care where they are.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Don't hire in California.
Yeah. So I felt bad because I offered a woman a job, and I found out after the fact, the payroll company comes to me and they're like, "Hey, funny story. We can't take care of payroll for this person."
Wow.
And it was one of those like, "That what? You're a payroll company?" Like, yeah, but California's weird.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
told me just the beginning of how much it would cost. And I'm like, no, okay, she's not that cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll just move on. So yeah, I didn't feel the greatest telling that person that, hey, we can't hire you because of where you live. Like she
Yeah. It's horrible, but it's true.
Whatever, life goes on. So
Yeah.
how tell me about the corporation difference, S corporation, C corporation, LLCs between states. Are those laws more or less federal, or are those laws individual per state, and some states are cooler, not so cool?
Yeah, so
Beyond just the
there's
fees.
the tax side and there's the law side. So each
Okay.
state is different on the tax side, and it's universal federally. And each state, the laws are mostly the same across the states. I mean, they're
Okay.
They're pretty uniform, but there are some states, like I mentioned, that are a little bit more business friendly than others as far as the law goes, and
Okay.
there's some that are definitely more employee friendly, which is, we just talked about California.
Yeah.
So those are some of the minor differences that people will want to keep in mind when they choose where to form their entity. Is that
All right. And tell me about the book. What triggered writing a book? Because I wrote a book and it's a huge pain. It's cool,
Yeah.
right? It's you learn
when it's
a lot
done.
writing
It's
the book.
cool when it's done, but not while you're writing it.
Yeah. And then editing is expensive, and in the end, you're not getting rich.
Yes.
Or anything like that. So what was the trigger, or the reasoning for you to write your book?
There's a couple reasons. One, because I speak all over the country, everyone's like, you need to put this in a book. You need to put this in a book. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I'd written a book on inexpensive travel before, so I was familiar with the process. But another thing that triggered it was the pandemic, because I would find new customers by speaking at events around the country. Well, when events shut down, I was like, okay, I need to come up with something that will gather clients in a different manner. And so writing the book was a good way to do it. And so it addresses, some of the issues in all 50 states. And, I get calls from the book. There's some calls to action, and there are some free stuff that they can come get on my website and things like that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, it was a good way to kind of get new clients and have a broader reach than just the specific seminars I was speaking in. So
nice.
It's a good thing all the way around.
All right. So I want to back up a step just chronologically. You said you started first business when you were 19.
Yes.
Did you know about LLCs when you were 19?
No, it took until a few years later where it started, entrepreneurs beget entrepreneurs. And as I hang out with friends, then we would start discussing stuff and like, oh, look it up. Do we need to form one of these? What do we need to do? Like, what's involved? And I had some friends that were impetuous and they go form one and get all the stuff, and they had no idea what they were doing. And I had some friends that were really well read, and we just kind of discussed things and learned together. And it wasn't something I formed until I think my first corporation was in 2005, which was almost 5 years or more into my first business. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. My sister has a yoga Pilates studio thing. She originally, for years, she ran it out of her house. Just a room above the garage. She had a few clients. Every once in a while, she would have other instructors that would come and go, whatever. And eventually neighbors got a little excited because she had people coming and going, clients. And they're like, hey, this is a quiet neighborhood. We don't want a business here, whatever. So anyways, she decides that she's going to move into an office, gets this office, expands it big. She tripled, quadrupled the business out of necessity. Because, hey, one, you can't be above your garage anymore. And two, well, now that you got a space, you can hold more than 6 people. So
yes, that helps.
Anyways, I remember talking to her and asked her about LLC and insurance and all that stuff. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, you've been in business 13 years. How do you not know about the smart woman, savvy, super awesome at business, clients love her, all that jazz. but it's one of those, I feel like people believe that when you start a business, there's two things you get: a yacht and just all the knowledge in the world about how to run a business.
Not how it goes.
And that's not how it goes at all. So it was interesting because I was like, oh, wait, that's like, she didn't know, right? She's just like, hey, I like to teach yoga. I'm going to teach some yoga to people. And then I'm going to charge them for it. And I said, it's funny because she's up northern Wisconsin, ice, snow, all that kind of stuff. And people were parking on the street, walking across their driveway, around the sidewalk, up some stairs. I'm like, oh my gosh, if one person would have fell.
Liability City,
Whoa!
right? Yeah.
So it was interesting having that conversation with her. Just like, oh my gosh, I guess this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. When you're, especially something physical. I mean, someone gets injured doing one of the poses and they blame it on her. I mean, that's some serious liability there,
Kink in my neck, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when you started your first LLC, what kind of business was it?
So I was doing business consulting at that time.
Holy cow, back then.
Yeah. And that it was mostly related to corporations and LLCs.
All right.
So I started it to actually house that business. And what I did is I actually had a couple businesses at the time. And this is what a lot of people ask me. They say, hey, do I need to form a separate entity for all my businesses? And I'm like, well, it depends on how much you make. I had a couple that were just a little bit here, a little bit there. So I put them all under one umbrella and then just formed some DBAs underneath it until they became big enough to where I wanted to separate it. So if one got sued, it didn't take down the whole house. So that's what I did. I had one corporation that housed, a couple different streams of income, and together they created like a pretty good living, but individually they weren't enough on their own. Right.
All right.
So that was my first one in 2005, and it was mostly for the consulting business. But my first business was I was a private tutor. I'd go to people's houses and teach them SAT prep.
Oh wow!
And, I made a pretty good business out of that. Then I started hiring tutors and marking up their hourly rates and sending them out.
Holy cow! That's awesome.
That was my first, very, very first business.
All right, is that still going?
No, that one I shut down. And occasionally I advertise my SAT classes on a website, and my hourly rate is so high that I rarely get a person, but when I do it's worth my time, so I'll go.
Oh, well, there you go.
So every year or two I might get somebody random that'll last for a couple months, but the hourly rate makes sense, and I just don't mess with managing the tutors anymore. That took a lot of time.
Gotcha. Oh, I bet
it wasn't fun. Yeah, I actually enjoy teaching the classes and working with somebody. I get more benefit out of that than I do trying to send tutors someone's way.
I get it. I always joke with other business owners that if I didn't have employees, this job would be so easy.
Yes, right.
Arguably fun, but in the end, they're necessary evil. So
yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, when you can make money off them, which is the whole goal.
Yes,
I mean, you got to tolerate them and deal with them.
Yeah, they get a guaranteed paycheck, but when you set up a good system, then you hopefully get to get some money in your pocket somewhat passively.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's totally the idea. So your first business that you incorporated was actually consulting about incorporating?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Forming corporations, consulting and forming corporations for businesses.
Oh, funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So was that working specifically, I imagine, with entrepreneurs or smaller businesses?
Yes, it always was. And I was part of a few business groups where someone got to that point, they go, oh, go talk to Michael. He knows that stuff. And then it was almost 100% referral. And occasionally I would get invited to speak in front of a couple groups, and I would get clients that way.
All right. And that business is still going?
It's still going. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. But I've been in everything. I've owned restaurants. I've had vending machines. I've had ATMs. I've had, you name it. And I've done it.
Holy cow. I want to start with the restaurant thing. How long and how'd it go?
Restaurants are a very tough business. And I had one in Texas that I shut down. It was right in the heat of the 2008 crisis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was a tough time. So we shut that one down. I partnered with another restaurant with a celebrity that we sold. They brought me in as a consultant, and I gave me a percentage, and we sold. And I currently am a partner of a Santa Maria style barbecue restaurant here in California.
Oh wow!
It's called Santa Maria Barbecue, and they focus more on rub than they do on sauces. So you can eat meat with just the rub, and it has the flavor on its own.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a tough business. And that one, I have a percentage in exchange for consulting and kind of, guiding them on tax and legal issues and some
All right.
issues and things like that. And one of my jobs is to go in and check for the consistency in the food. So it's a tough job. I have to go in there and try the barbecue and tell them what I think.
Oh, suffer through it, right?
I hate my job sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome. You're not doing dishes or anything.
I actually have. I've gone and taken orders sometimes, or when they're shorthanded, or if there's like a big catering event, I'll go help out.
All right.
I've done just about everything, but the day to day, I really don't work with. It's mostly when there's a bigger issue that we need to.
All right.
For.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's fun to get your elbows in there and just see
how
stuff is going. And
yeah, I like taking orders from the customers occasionally and going in there and filling plates. And luckily, I only have to do it once every couple months, but that's why it's still fun, because I don't have to do it every day.
Right. You're not making your direct living off of it. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you get into the cash machine business?
So we started when we were younger with vending machines.
All right.
And that led into the ATM. And I'll tell you what, I wish I started there, because when you have vending machines, you have a variety of all these different stuff. And, oh, we want new stuff. We want healthy stuff. And then the product expires, right? Mm-hmm. But and you never know. Sometimes you drive to a location and it didn't need to be stocked, right? But with ATMs, cash never goes bad.
Right.
It just stays in there, and you can go online and check to see if you need to go. So you weren't wasting time. Yeah. And it was just the way it was such a better business. And we started getting into that as we were kind of getting sick of the vending business. We sold off the vending business and maintained the cash machines for a while. But then, Venmo started coming out and things like that. So we decided we sold early before that business started to tank really widely, because it has. There's still ATM machines in some places.
Yeah.
But Venmo and Apple Pay and all that stuff is, Cash App and Zelle have really killed the ATM business.
I guess it didn't even dawn on me that ATMs are a dying breed, but I have friends that are just like, we don't carry cash. I even had to help this friend.
I'm that person.
All right.
I
was at there's a fundraiser for my kid's school, whatever, at like fundraiser. They went to the sub shop, and like whatever percentage from that day goes to the little PTA group, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I go there, and there's a mom there that I know, kind of like, I'm sure she has a kid in my kid's class, whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're just chatting. Anyways, the sandwich shop, their credit card machine went down. So this lady's got this order for her family, and all she's got are credit cards.
Yeah.
So I just gave her some cash to pay for it. And it was funny. Nobody had cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the kid counting change was like, oh, I don't even know
what do I do? Yeah.
And it's just been one of those things, like, you always carry cash because you never know where you're going to be.
What's funny is I carry a bunch of ones for, tipping a valet or something like that. Some 1s and 5s for places where you can only tip in cash.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I carry cash.
Wow.
100% credit card, because I'm one of those people who really takes advantage of the points and the rewards, and I have a different credit card for each thing.
All right.
So I'm on top of that stuff, especially for my business purchases and things. So I never carry cash. Yeah.
Like, I buy and sell cars and motorcycles and stuff like that, where you got to talk in cash.
Yeah. No, in that case, it makes sense because it's very specific, right?
Yeah.
But most of
I'll find a deal online. Like, you're moving today, within the next hour, you got to go there.
Yeah. And that's different. Of course, you need to deal with cash in that case, but my line of business, I don't deal with it very often.
Yeah. So I guess I would have never, if I had a bunch of ATM machines, I'd probably think, why is nobody going to these? Don't people buy stuff anymore?
Oh God, it was such a great business though. I mean, ATM fees, $5 a transaction. It was great. It was a really good business, but not so much now. Interesting.
And it's interesting. I get a little brother, big brothers, big sisters. He's in jail.
Oh yeah.
So I get to go visit him every month or so, something like that. And they have all these vending machines, and they only fill them once a month. And it's so interesting. No, I'm sorry, not once a month, once a week.
Yes. Okay.
And it's on, I think, Saturdays when they fill them up. So I go and see them on Friday, and you don't know what's going to be left. And it's so funny. You can only go in there with $20 and change.
Okay.
And between two people, that's like, you're spending that entire $20 on those vending machines.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A sandwich, a soda. Well, I guess that alone you spend.
Yeah. And
it's so interesting because I'm like, you guys are making money hand over fist at this place.
Yeah.
I'd make sure it was stocked, but it's prison. They don't care.
Yeah, right.
So that's so interesting. The vending machine thing, I guess it didn't even dawn on me where food can go bad.
Yes.
That Twinkie's been sitting there for who knows how long.
Yeah, and it's very competitive because another vendor will come in and say, "Oh, I'll undercut their prices."
Oh,
And $40,000 worth of vending machines at their location that you're still making payments on, and if you lose a location, now they're sitting in a warehouse not generating any income, and you're blown on them. So it's not
man.
as easy as people think, where you set it in there and you're making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
There's a couple of home run locations that really make it worth it, but
All
if
right.
you lose those locations, it's tough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. And then did you end up selling the vending machine
We
business?
did. Yeah, we bought a route. I think we got our own location, and we spent money on a machine, a couple grand on a machine, got a location, and then we bought an existing route for I think 40 grand or something like that.
All right.
Yeah. And then we built it up and sold it from there.
All right.
We're acquiring locations and buying machines, and
Yeah.
it built it up to close to, I want to say it was close to $500,000, somewhere in that range, and we sold it off in pieces.
Oh, that's cool.
Locations, because we were in Los Angeles, we were in Orange County, which is east of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And, we just sell it off in different regions, so it was bite-sized pieces that someone could afford.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go about selling a business, how do you go about doing that?
So in that case, we hired a broker, because the guy we worked with, the same guy that we purchased the first one through, and he was a really good guy, and so he specialized in vending businesses. So
nice. Wow.
Package them and sell them, and so we would work through him and pay him a percentage, and it worked really well.
All right. Boy, that's a niche. Holy cow.
It really is. Yeah, it really is.
Interesting. And then when you buy the business or buy businesses, are you going to brokers, or how are you finding businesses to buy?
There's two ways. People will advertise them on Craigslist or in other areas because they don't want to pay a broker. And then brokers will also advertise in the same areas. So it depends on the type of business. If I'm looking for a particular type of business, like if you're trying to buy a restaurant or a bar or something, typically those are going to be represented by a broker in most cases. Right. So you almost have to go through a broker. But there's all kinds of businesses that you can look on in different online sites that have some things available. I believe there's a website called bizbuysell.com.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That has a lot of different types of businesses. So it depends on what kind of business you're looking for.
All right. Very cool. So it sounds like you have partners in a lot of these things, or have had partners.
Yes, that's right.
Tell me how that goes.
It goes great. It goes horribly. I've had partners steal from us. I've had partners just not hold their weight. They work, but they don't hold their weight. And I've had partners perform admirably. And here's the key, is that a lot of people, this is my number one advice to people who have partners. And it's like, you have to be mean up front and create a contract so that you can be friends later. And
right.
To not do a contract to be friendly up front, and it turns everyone mean later, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I say is, hey, how do you want to, what percent do you think you should get? What do you want to do? What are your duties? What are mine? And even if, James, if I'm doing a business with you and we trust each other and we know we're good guys, we might make an assumption that says, well, I thought you were going to do that. I thought you were going to do that. And it doesn't mean one of us is lazy, but that's why it's important to list the duties and say, is this what you thought you were going to do? Oh, I didn't know I was going to do that. Well, how can we change that around? Do you mind switching these duties? Stuff like that. And put as much stuff down as possible. Look up templates online so that you can be friends later. And then there's no misunderstandings. What happens if I want to sell the business? Do you get first right of refusal? Can I sell it to anybody? What if I want to quit and walk away? What happens then? What do I get? What do I not get? Those are things that you all want to think about before you start.
Interesting. Yeah, everybody's friendly until you start making money, right?
Yeah, before you start making money, because you don't want to start making, a couple $100,000 and all of a sudden it's like, well, I thought it was going to be like this. And then you have this beautiful business that falls apart because partners are fighting.
Dang, it's just like any band in history, right?
Yeah. So get that contract going. Oh, what? You don't trust me? It's not that. I'm trying to, show you respect and make sure that we're on the same page. That's what it is. That's
fair. That's totally fair. I had a business partner with Calls on Call when we initially started this, and it took us, I don't know, 5-6 years, something like that, before we got a formal agreement. And it was so interesting going through it because it was, I don't know, it probably took a half hour. We met with an attorney. He had some questions. Just like if one of you dies, what happens, right? Does the spouse get involved and all that just stuff that we should have asked way back when. It was just like one of those
Well,
someday.
stuff you don't think about. You don't
Yeah.
think about your partner dying when you're in a business.
No, not
It's a young
intentionally.
guy. It's not something you think about, but it could happen in a car accident. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah. It was funny because we had a trade show coming up shortly after that. And we're like, we have to take separate cars. It's one of those- we don't want the business to fold because of a bad accident.
Right.
Well, life goes on. All good. Tell me about, I'm going to talk about the book itself. When people get this book, what is the kind of information that they're going to find in there?
So the first half is a little more basic. So it's going to tell them about how the asset protection aspect works, how the tax savings work, what are some of the other benefits that people don't think about, such as getting business credit and things like that. There's some basic stuff in there and some advanced stuff. It'll talk about the real differences between an S-Corp, a C-Corp, and an LLC.
Okay.
And I boiled it down in a very easy to understand manner. The book is written because I'm an entrepreneur and not a tax guy or an attorney. I take all the information from them and I put it into our language because we're entrepreneurs. And so people will read it and go, wow, I actually understand this because it's not a bunch of jargon, right? So that's the first half. And the second half is all the advanced stuff, like where I'm talking about leasing the car, the benefits of doing that versus selling the car to the company. And there's some advanced tactics. I'll give you an example of one. Usually when you form a corporation or an LLC, it's to protect your personal assets if you get sued in the business.
Yep.
But my book has tactics on how to protect your personal assets, even if you get sued on the personal side using your business.
Oh.
Yes. An example of that is I own my home, right? And I've got a mortgage on my home, but I've got a lot of equity. So if someone sues me on the personal side, they can put a lien on my house for the equity. But what I did was, one, I got an equity line to eat up some of that equity so that they have a lien on the house. And the leftover, I borrowed money from my corporation. So I borrowed money from my corporation to put it in my personal bank account. And just like if I borrow money from a bank, what do? They put a lien on my house. So my corporation has a lien on my house for the equity.
Oh, interesting.
So if I get sued on the personal side, there's no equity left for them to take. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes. And that I learned from an attorney in Solana Beach, and it was a really good one. And I use that at a lot of my talks. But there's a lot of strategies like that a lot of people don't think of on creative ways you can use your corporation and LLC that most books don't talk about. Right. So, I tried to put a more comprehensive thing together on, some really creative ways and legal ways. Everything in here is legal to save money on taxes and also protect your personal assets on a different level than the normal way, the normal means.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that is clever. So something like that, how do you end up in a conversation where either someone's telling you that stuff or like the story comes up? Because I imagine somebody had to get sued at some time.
Yep.
For that, for the attorney to say, like, let's figure out a way to prevent this from being a big deal.
Yeah. And you know what? This guy, he was his area of law was property law. And so he was a little more well-versed in some of the lesser known secrets on how to, protect some of the equity in it. And someone referred him to me because he also worked with businesses and corporations surrounding properties. And he shared with me that nugget where, someone just said, hey, you should go meet with this guy. Like you guys kind of play in the same pool and, you might learn something. He's a really good guy. And I had an intern with me at the time who learned a lot from that meeting as well. I'd bring my interns to client meetings and with attorneys, and they would learn more working directly on businesses than they did getting their, MBA or their bachelor's in business in school. But yeah, I remember even my mind was blown when the attorney told me that tactic, and even the intern was like, wow, I mean, this stuff is stuff I never would have learned in school. But
that's one of those, like, I wouldn't think to go to a property attorney in regards to my business stuff.
Yeah.
Or even, I mean, a house is a house. The mortgage is pretty straightforward. So
it
wouldn't even dawn on me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so that's it. I just picked up these tips and tricks from talking to different accountants and attorneys. And some of it was doing research myself. Sometimes I just get an idea and go, is this legal? How do I make it legal? What needs to happen in order to make it, virtually bulletproof if you get audited by the IRS? What are they going to ask for? And that's the thing, is most people don't realize if you get an audit from the IRS, it's not a full-blown audit. They'll send you a letter saying, hey, show us your auto expenses, or why is it this much? And you send it to them and you send all your stuff and they go, oh, okay, good. And they go away. If there's something that they don't like, then they're going to come in and look deeper and it'll become a full-blown audit. But my goal in this book is to show people how to how to legally rent office space to their corporation. And if the IRS comes knocking saying, how you justify this? Well, look, I looked up 3 comps in my area. Here it is per square footage. I measured out the square footage here. I have a rental agreement with myself and the corporation. And the IRS goes, okay, he's done his homework. We're gone. We get where you got that number.
Yeah. So they don't look into, an audit isn't necessarily a full-blown 100%. Show us every line on every document that you had here.
Yes, if there's something that looks funny, they're going to say, hey, send us the documentation. And if you don't have it, that's when they go, okay, we're coming in to take a peek.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you want to avoid that as much as possible. I mean, even if you're telling the truth, it's a time consuming process.
Oh my gosh.
Even if you're honest and you have all this stuff. So it's like, avoid it as much as you can. But if you get one, you want to be prepared. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I have employees in a lot of different states. And so I'm having to deal with payroll tax in all these states. And the volume of paperwork that you get from some of these states, I feel like, do you think that I just sit around with nothing to do but look at this paperwork?
Right.
Oh my, just pages and pages and pages over one employee.
It's painful.
My God.
It's painful. Yeah.
Painful.
Yeah.
And you end up, I mean, like I'm going through a payroll company, and they're taking care of all the stuff once I get them the numbers, like the whatever specific. They don't call it account number because that would be too easy. They'll have, every state calls it something different, ID number or UAI number, whatever it is. And it's so funny because there's one from a state I got on my desk here, 8 pages. And all I needed was that one number. And I was sifting through.
Yeah, looking for that bottom line.
Oh my God.
On the last page. It's somewhere in the middle.
Like, how much did that state pay somebody to write all this?
Yeah, right. And
oh
then print it all out and mail it.
Oh, yeah. And just, it's never as one envelope.
Yeah,
It'll
right.
be like, oh, we got another letter from that place telling us absolutely nothing. Just like, hey, reminding you. Oh, I think, oh my gosh, how much is wasted?
Yeah, that's right. That's where your tax money's going.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I guess it's interesting from a social experiment, like, job creation, I guess. On the other side, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm paying for this.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. 100% right.
So anyways, we got to wrap this up, but I did want to talk really quick, Michael, about your other book on traveling.
Yes. Yeah. International Travel Secrets.
Nice.
So, that book, I have a unique style of traveling. I've been to over 100 countries. I have a travel addiction, and it talks about unique ways to save money. I'll give you an example. I just booked a flight to London in September from Los Angeles to London, $175.
What?
And I don't know where I'm going to go, but once you get
to Europe,
all the flights are less than $100. So I booked that flight just to get me there, and then I'll figure out the rest later. But I have tips on how to save money on flights, tips on, a tip that I use is if I'm going to a more dangerous country, I carry with me a fake wallet that has a bunch of worthless cash from some places that's worth a few cents and some expired credit cards or some other stuff I throw in there. So if someone comes up and robs me, they get away with the wallet. By the time they realize there's nothing in there, I'm long gone.
Oh, nice.
Has all kinds of tips and tricks on saving money and making travel more convenient and things like that. So that's the second book. It's basically when you save money on taxes from the corporation book, you spend that money on travel. That's how I figure out the philosophy.
That is perfect plan. I love that. So, Michael, do you have let's talk about your books. Where do the people find those?
So the books are both on Amazon. Corporation and LLC Secrets is on Amazon, and International Travel Secrets is on Amazon. You can find them both there.
Sweet. And then do you have a website?
I do. So the website for my corporation book is Corp LLC Secrets. Right. And there's a lot of free tools on there for people. There's agreements, templates for leasing your vehicle or renting office space. It talks about some of our services. We provide a half-hour consultation for people who are, they have a corporation and they want to know, hey, how can I save some additional money? Or they need to form a corporation. They go, which one do I need? Which type? And then we also have corporation formation services. But that one, if you go to Corp LLC Secrets, you'll see some of those free tools. You'll get access to some of those services. And it's something that we've been doing for a number of years, and we love it. We want our clients to understand why they're forming the entity they're forming, not just, oh, my guy told me to do that and I don't understand why. We want them to understand why so they can answer the question if someone asks them.
Got it. So that's corpllcsecrets.com.
Correct.
Okay. Super cool. Super cool. And the books are on Amazon, of course.
Yes, they are. Yep, that's right.
Awesome. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening to this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, comment below. Let us know about some questions that you may have about corporations or travel in that regard as a business owner. That's one of the best things that we get to do. I love it.
Yes.
My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Michael Wedaa, the incorporation specialist at Augmentus Business Solutions. Michael, can you tell us that website one more time?
Yeah, so the book is Corp LLC Secrets.
Awesome. Corp LLC Secrets. Love it.
Secrets.com. Yes.
Perfect. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. Podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.